All right, baby shorties, the last thing we're going to do with two-dimensional forces is look at the dreaded inclined planes as well as the double trouble two-object systems. So an inclined plane is anytime we have a surface that is not level. So this is something that we kind of ignored when we went through forces to kind of simplify things, but an inclined plane is simply what happens when instead of a force is acting at an angle, what we do is we place our surface at an angle. But when our surface is at an angle, what it does is it actually takes our forces, and let's say I have a normal force and friction and gravity that would normally act up, down, or left and right, and now indirectly takes one of my forces and puts it at an angle. So you'll see here that normally gravity, that would act straight down in relation to like the normal force and friction, you'll see that gravity is now acting at an angle as drawn there with that box. So instead of splitting other forces into components, what we do in terms of an inclined plane is we're actually going to take gravity and break it down into two components. And the idea here is that when I draw the components of gravity, it forms a right triangle, and it just so happens that the angle of the incline is always going to equal the angle within that little triangle. It's always going to be that angle with the vertical right here. Okay, so I know that that angle is 30 degrees. So what that means, and if I have a 100 kilogram box, then I know that the force of gravity is going to be 1,000 newtons. But how is that going to relate to the normal force and friction? So like we've already stated, that the normal force and gravity are normally two forces that balance each other out, being that they're up and down, but that only applies if the surface is level. So now that the surface is at an angle, the normal force is not going to balance out with the full 1,000 newtons, but instead the normal force is going to balance out with the vertical component of gravity, that blue arrow that I drawn there. So to find the vertical component, we're going to have to use the sine and cosine. So specifically related to that angle, it's the adjacent side, so we're going to have to use the cosine. So if I take the cosine of 30 and then whatever I get, multiply that by 1,000, it's going to tell me that vertical component of gravity. So in this case, it's going to be 866 newtons total. So that means that 866 newtons is what is going to balance out with the normal force. Okay? Same thing here is that notice it says that the object is sliding down at a constant speed. So this one's actually looking at if it's constant speed would be a state of equilibrium. Not necessarily statics because the thing might be moving, or is moving, not might be, but is moving. But moving at a constant speed means that all the forces are going to be balanced. So left and right, so if I have up and down, normal force and that vertical component of gravity are going to be balanced. That also means that the force of friction and this horizontal component are going to be balanced. So again, what I have here is the force of friction. I'll write that as FF. And to the left, I would have that horizontal component. I'll just label it out FX. That those two things are going to be balanced out if this thing's going to move at a constant speed. Now to find that horizontal component, similar to what I did with the vertical component, I'm going to use, in this case, the sine of 30. So I'm going to take the sine of 30 times 1,000. Sine of 30 is a half, so that would give me 500 newtons. So in this case, if the horizontal component is 500 newtons, then that means friction is also 500 newtons because constant speed, again, means that all the forces are balanced. So with an inclined plane, what we're doing is we're taking the force of gravity and breaking that down into components. This was an example of equilibrium. So let's take a look at example B. This is going to be an example of when forces are unbalanced. You'll notice here I have gravity pulling downward. I have the normal force due to my surface. And the surface is at an angle now. My angle is 45 degrees. You'll notice here that there's no friction going on here. So we have this going down, say, a frictionless ramp. But again, what happens here is we're going to break gravity down into its vertical component and its horizontal component. Okay, and we're doing that because now my surface is at an angle. And that the angle between right there, right at the tip there, right by the surface, that angle is going to be equal to the angle of incline, so 45 degrees. So if I know the mass is 1,000, then I know my force of gravity is going to be equal to 10,000 newtons. So each of these components, the horizontal and vertical component, are going to be percentage of that 10,000. So then if I want to find, let's say, the normal force here, the normal force I know is the vertical component, so that's the blue. So if I want to find that blue component, I write it down below. I'm going to use the cosine of that angle, 45 degrees. I'm going to multiply that by the overall weight, which is 10,000, and that's going to give me that vertical component. And that will give you 7,071 newtons as that vertical component, which again then is going to tell me that my normal force is also going to be 7,071 newtons. All right, now, my goal then is, since there is no friction, if you think of right to left, now my surface is at an angle, but right to left, notice I have that red arrow, that horizontal component, but being that there's no friction, I only have that horizontal component, whoopsie daisies, that horizontal component going down the surface, so that means these forces are unbalanced. So if I want to find that horizontal component, I'm going to use the sine of 45 times that weight of 10,000 newtons, and that's going to give me the same thing as the vertical component, so I'm going to get 7,071 newtons. But the key thing here is that this is going to also equal my net force. It is the amount of force that's unbalanced. So if I want to use this for Newton's second law, I know that my net force is going to be that unbalanced force, in that case the horizontal component. So if I take that 7,071 newtons and I divide it by the mass of 1,000 kilograms, that's going to give me my acceleration of about 7.071 meters per second every second. So that's my acceleration. So again, inside incline plane, what we're doing is we're breaking down the force of gravity into components instead of other forces. All right, last example here, we're going to look at the old double trouble two-mass system going on here. So you'll notice that I have mass 2, which is suspended off of a string, mass 1, which is resting on a surface. You're given the mass of each object, a 0.1 kilogram mass and a 0.3 kilogram mass. You're given the coefficient of friction on the table, which is 0.2. So our goal is to find the acceleration and the tension in the string. So the very first thing to understand is to draw a force diagram for each of these. So mass 1, what I would have is I'd have my normal force acting upward. I have tension acting to the right, and I have gravity acting downward. And then we also have friction acting to the left. For this mass that's suspended, I would have the force of gravity acting down, and I would have tension acting up. So I have these forces acting on the object. The one thing that is connecting these two objects is obviously, no pun intended, is the string. So the key thing is that the tension that you see here in this diagram is going to be equal to the tension in that diagram. And those two tensions are the same, connected by the same rope. But obviously, being two different objects, we do have a couple things that are different. First of all, I know that if they have different masses, that the force of gravity is going to be different for each. So for example, this will be 1 Newton of weight compared to this one being 3 newtons of weight by just multiplying their mass times 10. Notice on the table, this is a level surface. So unlike our inclined planes, I know that if this is a level surface and there's no forces acting in 2 dimensions, that the normal force here is also going to be equal to 3 newtons. Then, based on our relationship, if I know that the normal force is 3 newtons, you have that relationship for friction, that the force of friction is going to equal that percentage of the normal force, so that's given you as 0.2. So 0.2, so 20% of 3 newtons, which is going to give you 0.6 newtons. So I know that the force of friction is going to be 0.6 newtons overall. So what I need to know is the only thing that I don't necessarily know, nor can I really find out using some sort of formula, is the tension going on in the string. But what I do know is that there is going to be, because this thing is going to accelerate, there's going to be an unbalance of forces. So I tried drawing in each diagram. Here in the diagram on the left, the tension is going to be bigger than the force of friction, which is going to cause that mass to accelerate. So I know there's going to be a net force here equal to that, or that's going to be caused by the tension and the force of friction. Similarly, there's going to be another normal or net force that's going to be equal to the difference between those two. Okay, so this green arrow that I drew is going to represent the net force. Okay, so the net force here in this first diagram is going to be equal to the difference between the tension and the force of friction. And in this diagram, the net force is going to be equal to the force of gravity subtracted by the tension. Okay, the reason why it's going to be different in both cases is because here it's going to accelerate downward, here it's going to accelerate to the right, if you can imagine this system moving. So now our goal is to solve for the net force. And the net force, again, why we want to solve for that is because the net force is going to help us to find the acceleration. But the thing about it is that I know in each of these equations, I know for example, the force of friction, I know is 0.6. I know the force of gravity here is 1 Newton, but I don't know the tension in each of these things. So what I need to do first in order to figure out the net force is I need to figure out what the tension is. But here's the thing, is that each object, the one the 0.3 kilogram mass and the 0.1 kilogram mass, they're both going to experience the same net force. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to take both of these equations, and since they're both equal to the same net force, I'm going to set those equations equal to each other. I'm going to say the tension minus the force of friction should equal the force of gravity minus the tension. Okay? This is actually something you learn in algebra. We are basically solving a system of equations. We have two unknowns, the net force and the tension, and I have two equations to solve for two unknowns. So what I'm going to use is a process of substitution. I could also use a process of elimination, but I'll show substitution. To solve for this, what I have now is I can take and solve for T. So I have T minus the force of friction, which is going to be 0.6 newtons, equals the force of gravity, and this is referring to this mass. So it's going to be 1 newton minus the tension. So if I want to solve for tension, the first thing I do is gather my T's on one side, gather the numbers on the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this T over here. So what I'm going to get then is 2 times the tension. At the same time, I'm going to add 0.6 to the other side. So I know that 2 times the tension is going to equal 1.6 newtons. So therefore, the tension is going to have to equal 0.8 newtons in order for that to equal 1.6 if I were to double it. Now that I know the tension, what I'm going to be able to solve for is the net force. Now I can choose either equation here. Okay, I can put 0.8 here. I can put 0.8 here. Doesn't matter which one I'll do. Just for real estate sake, I'm going to go and do this on the right. So I'm going to plug in this tension force into this equation, which is looking at mass 2. So I'm going to plug in my values. I know that my net force is going to equal the difference between its weight, which is 1 newton, minus the tension, which we now solved as 0.8 newtons. So therefore, I know that the net force here is going to equal 0.2 newtons. And if you were to do this same thing over here with friction, if I have 0.8 newtons here and 0.6 newtons, notice I'll get the same net force of 0.2 newtons, so it's going to work out either way. But once I know the net force, then I can use Newton's second law that the net force is going to equal m times a. We said that the acceleration is going to equal the ratio of that net force divided by the mass. So here the acceleration is going to be 0.2 newtons divided by the mass. Now here's the only tricky part about this problem, and this is about the acceleration, is that both objects experience the same net force. Both objects are going to move together. That means both objects are going to accelerate together. So when I plug in Newton's second law to find the mass, what I'm going to use here is I'm going to use the total mass of the system, not just one object, but they're both moving together. So the total mass in this case would be 0.4 kilograms. I just simply added 0.1 and 0.3 to get 0.4. So then if I were to divide those two numbers together, that should give me my net force, which in this case is going, or sorry, not my net force, but my acceleration, which would be 0.5 meters per second every second. So, all right, so this one's a little sassy because we have two objects experiencing individual forces. So what I did is I kind of drew a force diagram for each of those. The connecting force was the tension. So then thinking about what the net force would equal to, and again, the net force is what causes the acceleration, I was able to write out two equations, which then I didn't use some techniques of algebra, system of equation. I used the process of substitution, solve for the tension, and then use that to solve for the net force and therefore the acceleration. So this would be the hardest type of problem you would see. I call it double trouble because we have two types of masses. Notice this wasn't really two-dimensional forces per se, but we were looking at two objects that were accelerating really in different directions. So this is kind of the toughest stuff. I'm going to skip the last example, example 6, because that one's a little sassy. It's kind of combining inclined planes and double mass systems. So we'll skip that. We'll save that for class. Otherwise, got any questions, jot them down. We'll see you guys later. Peace out.